Alright. Hey, how's it going? It's June 7th, 2026, 10:47 p.m. I just watched Obsession, this new horror film, and it just came out. It's about this guy. He has his crush on this girl. Well, this guy named Bear. He has his crush on this girl named Nikki. He doesn't quite know how to tell her, and he's sort of mulling around how he's going to go about telling her, thinking about it. And then he comes across this magical this thing called a one wish willow, and you cast a wish on this thing and you break it, and then whatever you wish for comes true. And from there, it's very fluid how the interpretation of that wish actually pans out. If you're not very specific about what you're wishing for, the wish kind of takes a life of its own. And in this case, he wished that I wish that Nikki loved me more than anything in the world, or something like that. That was the exact statement that he used, and it causes this girl Nikki to become in love with Bear, and we get to see how that plays out when you take his wish literally, that she loves him more than anything in the world. And it's a very original representation of very relatable themes that everybody has experienced. Everybody's been in a relationship. Everybody's been in bad relationships, and the way that these writers evoke the emotion of what it's like to be in those kind of scenarios is very strong and powerful in the way that they use their imagery and the lighting and the sound. I really appreciated the focus on evoking feeling rather than capturing making a visual, sort of playing on all of the senses, and not just sight. For example, one of the things that they do really well in this movie is effective use of lighting. The way that at times Nikki is sort of in the shadows, and the only parts that you see of her are a silhouette. So she's she's like an unknown in the equation. You don't know, and the less you know about each scene, the more anxious you get and the more nervous you get, because you don't know what's going to happen. And it really does a good job of like putting you in the driver's seat of those situations. So lighting is one example. So at times, like when it's a much more tense moment, she'll be sort of in the shadows, a silhouette of a character. And then in warmer moments where there isn't as large of a threat, maybe in the scene they're just having a conversation or talking, it's much more warm. The lighting, you can see her face clearly. You can see her facial expressions, and so there are very clear levels of risk from one scene to another. And even in the varying degrees of lighting, like it's not just that she is fully illuminated or fully a silhouette. Those are like the two traditional uses of lighting that I see in movies, in horror movies like this. But they also had kind of like in between levels of lighting, where there's a scene where she showed up at his house at night. She was still sort of a silhouette, but her eyes showed this like yellow tint to them. It kind of gave her a different, more mysterious, threatening look than just when she's a silhouette. So playing on things like that was really interesting. I really like the way that they use their camera angles. I think I just talked about this, but using their camera angles to give you the perspective of the person experiencing. So they're immersing you in whatever moment the character is experiencing, as opposed to having like a wide shot where you can see everything in the frame, but you're not really you're like 1 degree of separation away from the risk. When they third person the shot, you're looking over their shoulder, or even go closer to first person, seeing it through their eyes, it it puts you more in the firing range of what's happening, and that coupled with like all of the other elements, lighting, really do a good job of immersing you in that particular moment. Uh, yeah, this movie did a really good job at keeping you right at the edge of that sort of fight or flight. Because I realized like my heart was pounding the entire movie, and it will lull you into this false sense of security at times, and then something wild will happen and it'll bring you right back. And there were times where I thought that we were past a certain feeling. Like, for example, the first time that Nikki did something crazy that caused Bear to be like, oh, there's something weird going on, is when she created an altar of his dead cat. And you see that happen and you think, oh, there's no way that he's gonna stay with her now after this thing. And then he stays with her. And then there patterns like that happen with, more intense things that she does, crazy things that she does, and he just keeps staying with her. And I just thought that the movie did a really good job of like making you feel safe and then pulling you back in again, and then making you feel safe and then pulling you back in again. Really, yeah, they did that really well. And the camera shots, the camera angles that I was talking about earlier, I noticed that when they do have more wide angles, they still add like a weird element of it, like the characters might be off center, not nicely framed in the shot. So even though it's a wide and you're not in the driver's seat of what they're experiencing, something still feels off or something still feels wrong. So they're very, very consistent with that throughout. I also like the different kinds of characters that pop in to this story. Like you have Nikki, and you have Bear's friend. I like how, and then you also have like the manager of the music store, Andy Richter, who's like the older gentleman. So you have like these different conduits for different audiences that can relate to this story, even if they're not in the same scenario as the main characters. And anyone who's been in a relationship like this, even if you haven't been in one, you know someone who's been in one, and so like the friends of the people can relate. So like there was something for everybody in this movie. And I also like how you have your parallels to like this whole relationship story, but then you also have just pure horror elements, and they would change the pace of the movie at times to kind of zero in on exactly what is the horror element of this movie. And those moments were like very chilling. Any time that, okay, so this thing that takes over Nikki, from what I gather, is like pure obsession. And there are times, or pure obsession or love for Bear. And there are times when the real Nikki, or I guess, I don't know, whatever, the real Nikki comes through. The first time was when she packed Bear a lunch, and there's a photograph of her, and on the bottom she wrote "not me," like giving him a clue that something is up. And then there's another time where she was sleeping and he was trying to sneak away, and in her sleep she's reaching out to him saying she's sleeping right now, kill me please while she's asleep. And it was like, man, like you already have like this really amazing storytelling through the vehicle of this horror film, but then the actual horror elements are really intriguing too. I don't have another movie that comes to mind necessarily that has done something similar to this, but I gotta think that there are similar movies. But this one is the most prominent example that comes to my mind in recent memory. All in all, there are other. I mean, there are other thoughts that I have about this movie. It was just really good. I don't know. They might come to me later. Oh, the performances were really good. I don't know who any of these actors are, but I really liked that none of them were A-list actors. They were just really good, and them not having any sort of track record that I know, or um, like an A-list type track record, I think really played into it, because then you can kind of just follow the story of these characters and you're not thinking about the actor playing this character. So yeah, lots of good things to say about this movie. I would watch it again. I would kind of want to like see if I can catch things that I didn't catch before. And the lore of the horror. Oh, one more thing that really sent like chills down my spine is when he calls like the help number on the box of the One Wish Willow, and he gets connected with somebody. We don't know who this is, and I really like how they don't reveal too much about the lore. They kind of just let it exist in the movie, and you do your due diligence of kind of thinking on what you think it means. And so he gets connected with this guy who is, I don't know, he's whoever is in charge of helping with this Wishing Willow in this story, or One Wish Willow. And then he just sounds casual. He's just like this not menacing voice, just a normal voice. And at one point, he asks if Bear wants to talk to Nikki, and then you just hear just screaming, and it's never really like revisited. We don't know what happened. We don't know what that is. We just know that you're kind of left to wonder. And I like this movie that it doesn't solve everything for me. It kind of just leaves little breadcrumbs and lets me kind of ruminate on what that might be, and it makes it a story that I want to revisit. So yeah, this was a really good movie. I would recommend watching it. Thank you. Bye.